Claire Pearsall is a former government advisor of the Conservatives, and I'm sure you've got a child as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't a single parent last night who didn't hug their kids just that little bit tighter.
It's awful. The most I ever got was the grazed knee when I picked him up. I mean, luckily enough, he is now nearly 16. So I have different worries like you do, but you entrust your child to a holiday club. Normally everything is absolutely fine. They come home a bit grubby, but excited at the end of the day, and they've had fun. I can't imagine what these parents are going through. I really can't. I think that the guilt that will be going through everybody's mind is enormous. Parental guilt is always there, but the very fact you want to be able to protect your child.
Yeah, exactly. And now look, again, we have this statement from the police. No one trusts what the police say anymore. No. That's the terrible truth. We've had so many times, we do not suspect terrorism. No, but that probably is true. I mean, I've got no reason to believe it isn't true, other than the fact that a lot of the times we sort of have big question marks. I'm of the view that anyone who is a terrorist, who kills innocent people, particularly children, for any religious reason, is just as mad as someone. But either way, but I mean, it's laughable. It's awful. But this is such a horrific attack. And I cannot believe that, as in the case with many of these sort of attacks, when innocent people die, that there won't have been a possible chance to stop this from happening.
And I think what we're going to see is the inevitable moving over of responsibility to different organisations. And I think you're right. We will find out that they were known to authorities, whether it be health, social care or whatever. Yeah. But what we don't want is just that excuse and the blame culture, and nothing actually changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, there is we haven't got the names of any of the children or anybody else involved. I mean, we know one businessman who was involved who was stabbed in the leg as he tried to save some of these children. But one of the dance teachers at this Taylor Swift dance and yoga workshop has now been named. She is among those injured, and that is 35-year-old Leanne Lucas. She was hosting that class when the hooded man, believed to have targeted the children, as young as 6, by the way, just before midday, entered. I've got a photograph of her. I mean, just an absolutely lovely-looking woman. Just, do you know what? She looks exactly like the sort of person I think would host a Taylor Swift dance and yoga thing. And you would trust your child to that woman quite happily, wouldn't you? Yeah. And we know that one of the dance teachers was I think with a child going to the loo at the time and barricaded themselves in. They tried to intervene. Both as being treated for stab wounds and were said to be in a critical condition by the police. But again, absolute heroes trying to save those children.
Well, of course, and it has the echoes of the Dunblane massacre, where the teachers involved there and the adults put themselves in the line of fire to save the children. I mean, it's just horrendous, but she does look like a beautiful soul. I really hope she
doesn't
pulls
she?
through.
Yes, yeah,
really
exactly. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do get in touch. What you want to say. Give us a call on 0344 499 1000. You can send a WhatsApp to the same number. Text on 87222. Get in touch on X as TalkTV. Calls are charged at the national rate. Text costs £1, standard network rate message. I think a lot of you be feeling the same way I do, sort of as a parent, just sort of a bit sort of befuddled and horrified by this. But I don't think the hand-wringing's enough. I just don't think, especially after the Nottingham killings as well. We've had other killings, and again, in the same way that after terror attacks, that we have hand-wringing, you don't look back in anger, and then nothing changes, even though always someone has been known to authorities, been on a watch list or not. In this case, we're told this is a man, possible mental health. They don't have a motive yet. Whatever the motive, I bet you anything something could have been done to stop it, and something needs to be done to stop the next one, because there will be a next one. That is the real worry, isn't it? Let's also talk about other worrying events yesterday, particularly worrying if you are a pensioner on low income, but not quite low enough that you're getting pension credit, and that is Rachel Reeves' announcement. I think, frankly, first of all, an absolute nonsense, this announcement about this £22 billion financial back hole. They saw all the figures beforehand. Absolute gobbledygook nonsense. I mean, a word beginning with B and ending in CKS is a word I would definitely like to say. And I mean, given far too much for a free pass on this. But she's also got an incredible free pass on 2 of the key announcements. Axing winter fuel payments. I mean, an extraordinary announcement. The decision to scrap also the plans for a cap on social care funding. something that took a long time to get, wasn't even enforced yet. But again, if you look at The Guardian, OK, look, Guardian and The Mirror, lefty papers, they've published, obviously they're focusing on this awful attack in Southport. But this is The Guardian headline: Reeves acts to plug £22 billion hole covered up by Tories. And inside in The Mirror, it doesn't even make it to page 12 and 13, cold, hard truth. Winter fuel support acts for most OEPs. Tories hid black hole in UK's finances. Can you imagine those headlines, Claire, especially as someone who worked in the last Conservative government? Can you imagine those headlines if the Tories had done this? Hateful, nasty Tories, you know, attack on the poorest pensioner, you name it.
Well, it would have been evil Tories freezing pensioners would have been the front page of the Daily Mirror.
She's really, you're a better headline writer than yeah.
But it just beggars belief that you go after the most vulnerable. And whether you believe pensioners to be very rich or very poor, the majority of them are living on very meagre means. And you're taking away up to £300 off them, which is meant for their fuel allowance, to keep them warm over the winter, to keep the lights on.
I mean, look, there are some means. There's state pension you get, and then there's some means-tested benefits. Now, one of the trade-offs on means testing and universal benefits is universal benefits will therefore go to, you know, millionaire pensioners. You know, Alan Sugar will get it as well, you know. I mean, I do know a pensioner who uses his winter fuel allowance towards the cost of heating his pool. OK, but no, his view is, I've paid loads of tax over the years, I've more than covered my costs. It's not means tested for a reason. And because the other trade-off of means testing is, OK, so the richer pensioners don't get it, but there's also a cost to means testing. There's a lot of paperwork to means testing, and actually you get a trade-off, and actually you're better off just giving it to everybody. And the people who were already high earners, they paid a load of tax and will carry on paying tax. Now, there's a really simple solution to this. Why didn't they just add the winter fuel allowance in, the £300 a year, into the normal state pension, and then the richer pensioners would be taxed on it, and therefore they wouldn't get the benefit of it so much, and poorer pensioners would automatically get it? Because one of the biggest issues, and Age UK have pointed this out, this is worse, they say, you know, than scrapping the triple lock, effectively. You know, I mean, this is a 3% cut in the basic state pension, for all intents and purposes. I mean, because the key thing is there are lots of pensioners who are on very low incomes, but just above those who are entitled to pension tax credit, who will carry on getting this. But they're still living on really meagre means, and they will be people who will, you know, turn the heating down in the winter when they need to have it up, or they'll choose to eat less and not pay other bills. But also there are some 800,000 pensioners who are entitled to the tax credits and therefore the winter fuel allowance, but they don't claim it because they don't know about it. The paperwork is too hard. There's like 200 odd questions. Or actually, in a lot of the case, they're too proud to.
This is it. They don't want to be seen to be taking a benefit, and it actually will cost more to get people transferred over onto pension credit than it would just to pay out this as a universal benefit to all. So the government needs to understand it. It either needs to fund it better, it needs information that people can easily understand if they're entitled to it, and actually help people to fill in that paperwork, because it is incredibly complicated, and little Mrs Miggins down the road may not understand that she can do it, may not, as you say, have the will to go and look for
and the
that
thing is, you know, for an awful lot of working people, especially people on sort of high incomes like MPs, 300 quid a year is not very much. It's a huge sum of money on someone on very low income. It's a huge sum of money.
Makes the difference between them eating or not.
Yeah, it really is that, isn't it? And now Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, she also ditched this long-awaited social care cost cap, despite the Health Secretary West Streeting during the election campaign saying it would go ahead. Now, again, this was the excuse, isn't it? Well, you know, we didn't know these numbers. Do you, I mean... I've always just thought it's unfair. You know, if you get ill with certain diseases, NHS covers it all, not a problem. If you get ill with dementia, you need round-the-clock care, then we're going to take your house. It seems to me to be really simple that this needs to be something that we all cover through our taxes, and some of us will benefit, some of us won't. You know what, if you're lucky enough, not you or your loved one, to get dementia, well, thumbs up to you. But it seems to me this is something that we should all take on in the same way we all take on the cost of someone getting cancer.
But do you remember Theresa May tried to do this, and in the 2017 election, which was awful, and it came out as the dementia tax, we're all going to have to pay more. Well, absolutely, I think we need to, and I think as a nation we need to
disagree
understand.
with her particular aspect of the policy, though.
But even so, you can see where she was going with it, and here we are, and we've now ended up with people going to get some really, really high spiralling costs that they can't afford for their care. So what's going to happen?